button on YouTube and then get this tweeted out and everything. So then we'll get the show rolling. Let's see. That is shared out. That is no, sure. When I was telling Brian before, I was like, I was almost at the point of calling you at like 12 or 1, being like, "There's no way today, dude. I'm completely. There's just no way." And then you had texted me, "Brian Murphy tonight," and I'm like, "That is awesome. That's yes."
Shot in the arm.
Yep. I was like, I'm back in.
I was wondering if I missed the memo, as it were, but yeah. I mean, I'm glad that we're going to do it because I feel okay now, but yeah.
It was a mess.
Work tomorrow. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Grab another beer before we go, but I'm good to go.
That sounds like a plan. I'm stocked up, ready to roll. Let's see. Get this up there and see if we got anybody. Oh, we got 1 or 2 people hanging out. Welcome, everybody. There's Jumpy Bob. Good evening, Jumpy. Yes,
See if I can get this thing on the old.
So, Brian, no pressure, by the way. You know, we're only doing the show because your name came up.
I'm glad we're here. Like I said, we all had a busy day, and
yeah,
I'm really excited for it.
Awesome. All right. Well, gentlemen, we ready to do the show?
Yeah.
Do it.
All right. Yep. I'll do all the intro stuff. You'll hear me come in, Brian, and then we'll get it going. So with that, well, let me make sure I'm recording everything. That looks good. That looks good. Let's do it. Here we go. We're recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgame Air Racing Podcast, episode number 292 for Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. I'm Tailgame Air Rusty Wallace in the PTM Podcast Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. The PTM Podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the Watch Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie. Best part is, every cent this year, we're donating to sponsored drivers. Join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. See if we can do it. Aaron Bearden, Robert Keplinger, Coleman Cam, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crow, Kathleen McDonald, Brandon Carl, Rika Porter, Julie Bosley, Ed Gerd, Third, Young Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Ghost Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, Stacey Coleman, Lisa Chinana, Rick Houston, Sarah Ann Barry, Evan Roller, Matthew Bishop, Harry Bolzania, AJ Evangelista, Janet Scott, Les Miller, and Jumpy Bob. All right. Well, that bodes well. That did pretty good. Except in my show notes, I had the wrong episode number. Hence the pause there. I was like, episode number 290. It's not 91 anymore. This is 92. It's time to get moving, closing in on 300 with the partner in crime from the PTM North Carolina studio, pregame engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
I tell you what, the Mooresville studio is on the struggle bus today.
Oh man, yeah. We'll go ahead and bring him in and then talk about it, but we'll welcome to the show for the second time in his master's degree episode, fabricator for Stewart Haas Racing, self-described mountaineer and charcuterie board connoisseur. He's on Twitter at Brian_Murphy_. It's Brian Murphy. What's up, Brian?
Not much. I appreciate you for having me on again. This is I'm really excited. We get to our last episode was in December, so I'm sure we got a lot to talk about. It's been a busy 6 months.
Absolutely. Yeah. We were sitting there. I kept asking you questions in the pre-show, like, ooh, how about this? And I'm like, wait, don't answer that. We'll talk about it on the show. Ooh, how about this? So we just sat there staring at each other like, I don't really have anything to talk about because I want to talk on the show. But we always talk about the same thing first time. Brian, what are you drinking tonight?
A Busch Light.
Busch
no doubt.
Light.
It's either Busch Light or it's the Dixie Vodka. Tonight I chose my Busch Light. So
on brand. I dig it. Sherwin, what you got?
I don't know if this is my first go at this, but you can tell how much the bus is struggling because that is a big glass of water.
Well, he's gonna run it out of fuel right here on the show, boys and girls. But we're excited to have you and everything. I am still working on the most expensive beer run in the world that we had last week, whenever it was, a week and a half ago. Creature Comforts, the Creature Stout Coffee Stout is there on deck. and I got normal PTM special stuff in the glass right now. But
I would like to say that I did make it out to the store on Monday, and I got me some of that red, white, and blue Budweiser. I was hoping to engage in that activity this evening, but nah, body said, no, maybe not today, dude.
Yeah, we all so. It was funny because Brian jumped on and then Sherwin jumped on and he's first thing I said, Sherwin, you don't look that great, and he's like, but you look great for how I understand that you're feeling right now. So appreciate you hanging out with us. But I had said in the pre-show, or not in the pre-show, I had said, well, I did talk about it in the pre-show a little bit, but I had said to Brian that I almost texted Sherwin at 1 or 2 o'clock today and said, dude, I'm not in the headspace. I cannot do this show tonight. And right before I was about to send something, Sherwin goes, Brian Murphy tonight. And I'm like, Brian Murphy, hell yeah. We're going to have fun then. You know what? Screw this thing. We're going to talk to Brian and have some fun. So Brian, what's shaking?
Not much. A busy day at the shop here as well. The cars are going to Sonoma this weekend. So after a day off yesterday, a well-deserved day off for the whole shop. It's a busy week just getting the cars ready. They have to leave either tonight. The 14 left tonight. The rest of the cars are going to leave in the morning for the long trip out west. So, it's been a busy day. It's going to be a busy morning, and those guys got to get on the road for these cars to get out west. So,
man, yeah, and that's I don't think about that trek that has to happen right now. You're saying like the car has to leave the shop today to get there in time for. I mean, it makes sense, but even then, I mean, those guys are trucking. What's it take? 2 days? 3 days?
Good 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's an unfortunate scheduling. After a day off, Memorial Day, all the teams usually give all their guys the days off that they can because we work so hard, and especially those shop guys, they work. At least 5 days a week, a lot of them 6, some 7 to get these cars ready. So to give them Memorial Day off is always important. That's one of the days that, we always take off for obvious reasons. And, to have a West Coast race the next week is quite the task. So, but yeah, we're ready. We got one car on the way out west. Chase Briscoe is going to run the ARCA race. So that's why they had to leave a day early. They had to get that car out there for those guys to run. And, the others will be leaving tomorrow, not soon after the doors open. So, again, busy day, busy week. And, again, followed up by the All-Star race next week. Those cars are going to get a lot of attention as well. So it's going to be a busy week here at the shop.
I'm curious about the hauler drivers now that we're just talking about, the haulers leaving and stuff. Are they, another part of the team or contracted out? I'm curious how it works on the big teams like that.
They're another part of it. They are a big part of our team. We have at least 2 per team. And then with all the West Coast stuff, we have a couple drivers that do show cars or R&D haulers or things like that. So our truck drivers are very much a family. They're very important. They aren't even just truck drivers. They're babysitters. I mean, A lot of them have a lot of great insight on not only racing, but life. I mean, I go to our truck drivers for a lot of things, not just for nuts and bolts. So, but they have so many important roles on just not only cleaning the truck. I mean, that's simple, right? I mean, you want a good looking hauler, but also knowing where things are at. When there's an emergency and you need something right now, those guys know where everything is. They can find it. And nowadays, a lot of them are actually, with the roster cuts, they're mechanics. They're, they run fuel. They do things during the pit stop. So these hauler drivers aren't just hauler drivers. They are very important pieces of this team.
That's cool. Yeah. And, the evolution of what that looks like, in the early days, you're driving your own car around, and then as you sort of graduate up, and I don't know what it is on the mid-level teams, but on the elite teams like SHR, I was just curious what their role was in the organization too. Like get out and then start pumping gas, changing tires. And
there's part of the NASCAR rule book is. Roof flaps, for instance, there's a certain spec in the gaps that go around the roof flaps of the roof. It's 60 to 100 thousandths, and that is usually done later in the process once the car gets out on the floor, just because the roofs will shift around or things like that. So we usually do that at the end so that those gaps are exactly what NASCAR is looking for. And I didn't get to the car as soon as I could today. There was a lot of things going on, and I walked up and there was a truck driver standing on the roof flap, making sure the roof flaps were gapped correctly. So I mean, they're not just truck drivers. They're very important parts of this organization.
That's awesome. So switching gears for a moment, truck driving, switching gears. Come on, give me something here. It's been a day. Last time we talked about hiking for quite a bit, and I was like, we could sit here for the next hour and talk hiking, but I'll get my little piece in every once in a while. Have you done any big hikes since last time we talked to you?
Oh yeah. So since then, I've done. Me and a coworker have started Appalachian Adventure Group, which is. I hate to call it a business because it's not really a business. It's more of a trying to create a community, people that have specialties that can take people out and show them the outdoors, show them, educate them on how to recreate responsibly and things like that. So since then we did the Art Loeb Trail. We did that in less than 36 hours, which is 36 miles.
Holy smokes.
And so that was a big accomplishment that for me and the group of people we went with. We've also rappelled Looking Glass, which is a 450-foot mountain in North Carolina, which was absolutely spectacular. I mean, rappelling that was one of the coolest things I've ever done. And then this past weekend, you can see pictures on the Instagram and Twitter where we went rock climbing this weekend. And I'm not a good rock climber. I'm 200 pounds. I got some weak arms, so just climbing up 10 feet's a big accomplishment for me. So, but we had a good time rock climbing, and we got all kinds of trips and things planned for the future. So if anybody's interested, give us, contact us and we can hook you up.
I'll tell you what, that rock climbing thing, that it's a different breed, and I know a couple people who are big into it, and I mean that is a life thing. I mean you have to plan your meal around how this is going to help you. You got to plan your next workout. Everything is around climbing, and it's incredible. Folks who are good at it, not even just elite at it, but you were like, I'm no good at rock climbing. I went to the indoor rock climbing area over here one time, and I mean, like, it was, I just start laughing at one point. They're like, all right, put your other leg over there. I'm like, it doesn't do that.
Right.
That ain't how this body works.
The worst part is when you get like, my fear is I get up like 10, 15, 20 feet, and I start getting nervous because I'm not good with heights. You look over and there's a 10-year-old just climbing up like a spider and running past you all the way to the top 100 feet up. And you're just like, man, these little kids are doing it now,
It's funny you mentioned that because next to us was like this, I guess they're the speed climbing walls because they have a timer and you go up and you slap the button or whatever. Yep. And here I am, just like you're saying, I'm maybe 3 feet off the ground at this point, just trying to do 3 points as best I can. And here goes this kid next to me. Like the handholds aren't even there, running up the wall. It's insane. So, have you hiked? So a couple weeks ago, we went out to Bryson City, and that was my first time out there and hiking out there. Really cool area with it had mountains, waterfalls. It had mountain lakes and stuff to go around. I really enjoyed that.
So we've been out west a lot. That's obviously, like I said, it's one of the perks of this job is if you're on the road crew, you get to travel and see a bunch of amazing places in this country. And I've been fortunate to do that for a couple of years. I never made it out to Bryson City. We went to Zion and a lot of places up that way, but just the way the West Coast swing worked and just, the amount of times I were up there, we went to Zion, we went to Death Valley. We just never made it that way.
I got you.
I know a lot of people have been there.
Real quick, I was referring to Bryson City, North Carolina.
Oh. No, I have never been. I haven't been that way. I mean, I've been through it, but
my bad.
Yeah, no. Bryson City out west is really nice too, though.
Yeah. I've actually been to, I guess, Bryce Canyon. Yeah. We went there. A matter of fact, it was 4 years ago because I've got. I was reminded on Facebook. It was like, "Hey, here's you 4 years ago." I'm like, back pre-pandemic when we traveled and stuff and had fun. Any podcasting lately? I know you're not a junior to the podcasting scene.
No, not much. The work has taken a lot of it. The time, and now the AAG deal, Appalachia Adventure Group. So haven't done much of that. But it's actually a lot of fun with the time I have to just do something like this. I really enjoy this, and this is what I have time to do, is jump on and do this and not edit or things like that. So
yeah, enjoy a bush light and talk to a couple yahoos. It's fun. So we this is one of those preview questions in the pre-show that we were talking about. But last time we talked, it was off season, and I think so. I went back and looked at the notes and saw that you had nonchalantly kind of said, "Yeah, we need to build like 20 cars, no big deal." And so now here we are in the thick of it. So what's the season been like so far for you?
It's been decent, right? You look at SHR and we're not performing where we want to, obviously. The level that we, what we hold, the standard we hold ourselves to, we're not performing to that. That's not, that's obvious, right? But we've had some really good years. We've won a ton of races in the last couple of years, and it's, people always ask, like, how's the mood? How's the shop? And, this happens. You can't dominate every year, and you just work through your challenges. There's no panic, really. It's just everybody's trying their best to figure out whatever issue we have, so we can solve that. 2019, we had a very similar start to 2019. Where we won, or 2017, I'm sorry. We won the 500, which, speedway race. And then we had a really slow year after that. And we didn't win a race until the end of June with Harvick at Sonoma coming up this week. So, it's easy to panic. It's easy to, lose sight on what you're doing, because you're scared of making certain decisions or not. But that's not really what's going on. Everybody's working really hard to get these cars to perform the way we want them. There's a lot of different areas that can throw a team off, and these years happen, and it's not really, it's not really embarrassing. It's just part of it, and you just work towards fixing the issue.
Yeah. I'm quick detour. I'm actually wearing my Zion hat for you, so thought about it. Yeah. So I'm wondering how like the feedback loop works in your role. Like, so from race to race, you're getting some sort of feedback. Hey, this needs to happen or that needs to happen, and how that gets down to you and the changes that you're making on a regular basis.
Well, it's very much the other thing that with this 550 package is, and the way the aero game works now, is there's so many different options for these teams and these drivers. It's not like the 750 package or what we did in many years past, where all you're doing is just trying to get downforce, right? It doesn't matter if it's efficient or not. You're just trying to build a car with as much downforce as you can. And nowadays you have to be really smart with how you do that. You have to find efficient downforce. Drag can really, how much drag you have on a car can really dictate on how you perform in the race. So you can't just find any kind of downforce. You have to find certain types of downforce. You have to find front downforce. You have to find rear downforce. So, for me, it's just, the team evolves, the driver evolves after each race. What do I want? What do I need? What did we learn from that race? How did our car mechanically work? How does that change what we want aerodynamically? So there's so many factors that go into how these cars react on the racetrack. And that's the hard part now, is there's a lot more options, and there's a lot more that dictates how you perform. So, it's for every, just when I think I haven't figured out, then the game changes, and now suddenly we're trying to, redesign the car again. So
yeah. I was going to ask with this year's schedule with so many road courses, and we're about to go to one, how that changes up, your even day-to-day job. Is it, oh my gosh, we're going to a totally different place. We just got back from Coda, and then we're at the Coke 600, and maybe I don't know, is a mile and a half speedway, is that one of those like, oh yep, we've got that on aisle 3 over here, and we'll just plug that in, or is it changing constantly?
it's constantly changing. After every race, you come back and you reevaluate where you were aerodynamically and mechanically. So you're always learning. The driver is always learning themselves as well. So after, especially now with us, we have 2 young drivers that haven't practiced at all. So what they learn every race is for every, it's just constantly evolves. The other thing is what we haven't seen much in the past with a year like this is the chassis limit. So, up until last year, there was not a limit on how many chassis we had. We would have 100 plus chassis. If we wanted to just build the wazoo out of road course cars or speedway cars, we could just build cars without any limit. Last year, they put in a 16 car limit, and then COVID hit. So there was a little bit some leniency there. Again, now this is the first year where we're back to a true 16 car limit. And there are a lot of times where you're waiting on cars to come back from the racetrack to get disassembled, to get clean, to get back into rotation. And that's part of the problem is it's a problem for us. It's good for the industry. It's saving costs, things like that. But right now for the game, it's really hard for us to, build cars, have them ready and through the system and in time to go to the racetrack. And that's just part of this chassis limit that we're seeing. And this is the first year that we're seeing it, especially right now. We're going through a 7-week stretch where 5 of those races, we need backup cars. And whether or not you use them, there's still changes that happen. The crew chiefs still want their backup cars. People think backup cars are, less of a car, right? No, when you unload that backup car, that car is equally as good. That's what we want. We want it to be equally as good as that primary if it's needed. So getting those cars ready and getting the cars back from the racetrack and turned around in time for the next race right now is the challenge.
What does that turnaround look like? Like, you finish a race, truck drivers that we talked about, they bring it in, they back it into the shop, car rolls off the truck. Is it just all hands on deck, tear this thing into a million pieces, or what does it look like?
So usually when it's unloaded, we'll, people think you just spray it off and go. No, that car gets unloaded before anybody touches it. It gets sent to our scanner. We do a full ATO scan, which is like a high def scan on everything. After that, we'll send it through our own Hawkeye. So then we get an actual Hawkeye scan or OSS scan, just like they do at the racetrack. And after that, then it goes to tear down. The car's completely tore down. I mean, most of the time it is, completely tore down. It gets sent back into, it gets power washed. Those guys have a quite a job cleaning those cars every week, getting the rubber, the oil, all that off, and they come back squeaky clean. And then it's got to get cut up. And really nowadays with the tolerances NASCAR holds us to, every car at least gets door tops down. So if the driver puts their butt on it, that gets cut off. It's almost roof down every race. So, and then, we're constantly evolving, improving. So, for a car to come back and just get the body chopped off it after one race is, not a surprise whatsoever. So there's so much to do. It usually takes, we like to be 4, 5, 6 weeks ahead of the race. And right now we're looking at 2, 3, maybe, which is tough times. There's a lot that goes into these cars. There's a lot of effort. There's a lot of precision. There's, these tolerances are small and we want to perform at the highest of our abilities. And that doesn't happen with just a flick of switch.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize that, to that level. I was just joking down to the nuts and bolts or whatever, but it sounds like it gets there. Yeah, that's cool. What are some of the most challenging parts that you have to deal with on a regular basis? Like, all right, I can do this, and then that one part comes along, and you're like, God Almighty, not again.
I mean, for me, like I had after this year, like COVID really put a damper on my job. I was a travel fabricator, and when the COVID hit, they limited the roster as they should, and so they put me into like associate shop foreman role for the 1441, where I kind of watch the cars as they go through the system. So really, for me, it's just getting everybody on the same page, because like we said, there's so many options, right? Like there's so many things that the crew chiefs want. There's so many things that the drivers want, and making sure each person on the team understands what is supposed to go in that particular car, whether it be a 550, 750, a road course speedway, making sure every single person in the shop knows exactly which option they're supposed to install on this race car. That's the hardest part. And there's so many people that work for us that, it's easy to get into a rhythm just because that's what you do. And this job is forever changing, forever evolving. And it's hard. It's really hard to just do your job the way you always do it, because it's always changing. Like I said, making sure the drag ducts are installed properly, making sure each little Bondo seam is seamed properly, making sure the body hangers have the roofs located properly, and that goes to the Hawkeye the same way. I mean, there's so many things to keep up. These cars react in so many different ways as they go through each process of the shop, that you have to keep up with them every day, because even if it goes in the Hawkeye today, it's going to look different tomorrow, and you need to kind of learn how it's going to progress through each stage. So that's really the hardest part is that, again, we're down to the point that if the Hawkeye is 5 degrees off, in ambient temperature, that it will show a different scan than it would the day before.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And with those tolerances that we always hear about, I mean, it's like, okay, hold your fingers 60th of an inch apart. Go for it.
Everybody always asks, like, are the teams cheating? And the times, right? I mean, we definitely pull on stuff. We've seen the last couple weeks with certain teams pulling on skirts or things like that. Like, that happens, but for the most part, we're not cheating. It's just the tolerances, and we're pushing them as we should.
Yeah, that's cool. So there's a lot of testing going on right now, especially for next year's car. How involved does your team, or do you get in all that stuff?
Very little. I brought that up in a meeting one time, just asking the question, like, how, what's our focus? And they told me that my focus is this year, this car, and to not even remotely think or look at a picture of the next year's car. So we're here to win Sonoma. We're here to win Texas. We're here to win Nashville. We're here to win every race this year, and that is the only thing that's on my mind. So
that's cool. What does a team look like who is doing that? Is that a whole separate group that works on those things, or?
Yep, there's a whole separate group that's dealing with that, and up until like a month ago, I mean, it wasn't really revealed. People think that maybe the next gen car is just rolling around in our shop. That's not the case. Again, our group of guys, our main competition group is focused on this year and making sure these cars perform. So yeah, there's a whole separate group that works with Ford, that works with even all the other Ford manufacturers or teams. And this whole Gen 7 program has been a great effort, not with just one team or just one manufacturer, but with all the teams and manufacturers. I mean, this is a massive change to our industry. So there's a lot of things going on that are beyond what any of us need to worry about right now. And when we need to worry about them, they'll let us know.
10-4.
Yeah.
What is it? What is the relationship with the manufacturer from like your perspective and your role? Are you going back to them? Hey, this thing is all all messed up, or is it I guess where do they come into play in your role?
Well, for me, they don't play much of a role.
Gotcha.
But Ford plays a huge role in Stewart-Haas and Penske,
Yeah.
Roush, all those things. First of all, you look at and first of all of our motors come from one place, Roush Yates, right? And so they do a great job making sure we have, the best Ford motor that we can possibly have. And then you go down to CFD and wind tunnel, and all of the CFD power comes from Ford in Detroit. So they have a whole massive bank of computers up there running all of this simulation, and that's one thing that was cut back this year was the CFD, and people understand how much computing power it takes to do that. Of all of Ford, let's say that all of their CFD power, all of their production to build real cars, to do sports cars, to do NASCAR. Think of all the things that Ford would want to do any kind of CFD testing for. Up until this year, where they cut back our hours, Stewart-Haas, Penske, and Roush use 60% of that power.
Wow.
So they play a massive role in our resources and our testing and what we can do and how we work together. Ford teams work together really well, just not only from the development of the Mustang, but the development of the Gen 7 Mustang. So, each team has their own 2 Ford aero engineers. Each team has their own, engineer to help them. So Ford gives us a lot of support, not only financially, not only R&D wise, but personnel wise. The manufacturers play a massive role in how these teams perform.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and tear it down from the weekend. Here we go. Oh my goodness! All right. Well, that was loud. That's what you get when we're doing sound effects on the fly. First period of the report card is Charlotte. So, we have somebody here. Brian, you went to the race. Tell us about your perspective, what you saw, what you thought was great or not so great or whatever it was.
Yeah, so I actually I went to the race as a fan, and it was awesome. I sat in the stands. We had some Busch beers and hung out. It's tough, right? I go into that race. That's one ring I don't have. Mm-hmm. So it's easy for the professional side of me to be disappointed. But as a fan, man, I saw a great race. There was a lot of passing up front. And Kyle Larson, man, what a driver. that guy gets in, and we're giving out report cards. He gets an A.
We used to do that back in the day. That's where this started, was giving grades to everything that was going on. But absolutely. Not just Larson, but Hendrick now with the 269. Not quite a horn blow for David Smith last week, who said Larson was going to win 2 stages, but Kyle Busch would take the race. But excuse me. But yeah, that was a heck of a deal for him, for Hendrick, for Chase Elliott was up there. You said it though, a bunch of passing, which I thought was really. I don't know if that's unique for Charlotte or for mile and a half D oval that we've seen lately, but I was really happy with how things turned out. Sherwin, what do you think?
I liked it. Obviously, when somebody runs off and leaves with the race, and it's not your guy, you're going to get a certain amount of dissension that comes out of that. But I thought there was plenty to watch that wasn't necessarily Kyle Larson crossing the finish line 355 times. So I was watching that.
Yeah. Well, I think I saw a headline. I must have missed it during the race. I usually have the volume turned down quite a bit. I just like to watch cars go around in circles, I guess. But apparently Jeff Gordon at one point had said something like, well, okay, it's a good thing Kyle Larson got passed by Chase Elliott right there, because when he leads 200-plus laps, he always loses or something, and then he had to eat his own words. So.
I remember him saying that.
Oh, that's funny. But, what is it about Hendrick right now, Brian, from your perspective? They're going out and they're doing some stuff right now. What is it from that you're seeing that they've got?
Well, I think part of it, is they went through a pretty tough period, right? And
Mm-hmm.
kind of like we're doing right now is they had a couple tough years, and that's where you find the people that not only want to be there, but the people that want to make things work, right? And that's like I said, tough times aren't necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot you can learn from when you run subpar, let's say. So I really think that tough year and a half really brought that group together. I think they, went to work, did their homework, and they came out pretty strong. I mean, they came out swinging. I definitely think the motor, getting RCR and Hendrick together, or ECR and Hendrick together. I think having two companies come together with different views on a motor, I think they had a lot of horsepower right now. I mean, that's the word in the garage is those Chevy motors are running pretty hard. So, there's so many things, and let's not. They have a great group of drivers as well. I mean, their lineup right now is just completely stacked, and not only stacked for now, but stacked for the future. So, I mean, given their crew chief lineup, given their driver lineup, and given the hard time they had a couple years ago, and those guys don't want that to come back. I look forward to them. No, I don't look forward to them. I see them. I see them being a pretty tough contender next couple years for sure. I mean, if not the handful of years.
Yeah, we've talked about it a few times with the lineup that they have, and that lineup does not include Jimmy Johnson or Jeff Gordon or Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Mark Martin or Casey Kane. Or it's
It's a young lineup of drivers. It's a fairly young lineup of crew chiefs, and it's a pretty pissed off group of individuals that don't want to ever be embarrassed like they were a couple years ago. So
right. With Hendrick at 269 now, is this the pinnacle he's been looking for to hand the reins off to Jeff Gordon, or otherwise are we, is he in this, he's got to be so competitive and everything. Curious, your perspective, from the ownership side.
I think a lot of people always ask me about Tony Stewart, right? Like, what is his role in the team now? And I think Tony Stewart's role, and I'll say it's the same. I'm gonna say it's about Tony Stewart. I'm gonna say it's the same with Hendrick. Is their role was to come in and build a team that they trust and don't have to micromanage. Same thing with Tony Stewart. He came in, he did his job, and he put together a group of individuals that he doesn't need to come in and micromanage. He doesn't need to come in and see day-to-day operations. And that's the point. Like, he came in, he built this team, and we're self-sufficient now. And he should come in and lift us up as he does, or do much more simple things. We don't need him to come in and worry about the aerodynamics or things like that. That's not the role anymore. So for me, I think Hendrick could definitely keep his role. I mean, he's a great leader. He is an amazing, he's a great businessman. He's an amazing leader, and I don't see him moving from that role anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he doesn't. And if he does, I hope he doesn't go far, just like Tony hasn't. So, those guys, they got Chad Knaus there doing the things he does. They got those good crew chiefs. I hope Rick Hendrick's role is more emotional, and less. People think maybe he's super involved, and I don't know if he is or isn't, but I'm going to say he's more of a great leader and an emotional leader, and that's a very important part. And I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
Somebody's got to be the rah guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
How often do you see like Tony or Gene Haas around the garage?
They come in from time to time, or garage?
Sorry, not garage. Garage all the time, I'm sure. But
garage,
around the
quite a bit.
around the shop?
The shop. I mean, they're still there. There's again like Stewart's role is not the same. He's not here to micromanage. He's not here. He comes in and hoorahs and makes sure everybody's doing their job. It's a different. He comes in and I'm sure there's a lot more backside of things, right? Like he's probably got a bigger role than beyond what I see. But for me, I mean, I don't need Tony Stewart to come and make me want to work every day. I want to come to work because I want to win cup races, and I want to win cup races for a lot of people, not just Tony Stewart. And he's a major part of that, but I don't need him to come in here and lift me up every day to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a cool perspective. I like that. Moving on to second period here, we talked last week, but I'm really curious from somebody who's close to the competition about rain racing and what you, if anything, have to do differently. And head nodding down. But give us your perspective then.
Well, so my rain racing hatred started not actually even in circle track racing, but started in IMSA racing.
Okay.
And man, honestly, so going to Road Atlanta, Petite in 2017 when it got rained out. Is that the year? Did we lose someone?
We lost Rusty. I don't follow IMS outside of the Rolex,
I think
really. I mean, I try to.
I usually go to Petite every year. Is Rusty back?
Yep.
He sort of, kind of is not.
Anyway, I usually go Petite every year, and I went to those first two races. Sunny, great experience. And I believe it was either 2016, maybe it was 2016. It rained that race the entire time, and I was miserable watching it. I was miserable there. They called the race, I want to say 3 or 4 hours before the end, and then I had to pull my camper out of the mud, which was a complete disaster to get out of there. So, that's when I was like, you know what, racing in the rain. And so that's a Saturday. Petite's always on a Saturday, and the next day was sunny. And I'm like, I wish you just would have had the race on Sunday. I would have stayed and enjoyed it much more. So I'm not a big fan of racing in the rain. I don't like working in it. I don't like watching in it. I don't think the racing really is that much better, in my opinion. I mean, I know I'm one of the few, but Coda was maybe a little more dramatic than it should have been. As an industry, sure, we have not raced in the rain very much. I'm sure there's a lot we could learn. But we did way more research, way more development on our rain setups than people realize. I mean, we had a car in the tunnel using our vital tunnel hours, just running the windshield wiper, trying to test different ways for it to win the rain. So for fans to question whether we used Rain-X or the right windshield wiper, or, we did a lot of testing on the right things, the right locations, the right blowers. We did a lot of stuff to try to make that not an issue, and still, it was an issue. So as an industry, maybe we need to do better. As a company, maybe we need to do better. But at the end of the day, I think the conditions were so bad at Coda that we should have been racing in that either.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about doing something like rain, I mean, potentially you might only do it 6-7 times a year. Sustainability requires practice. Yeah. You can't just show up and say, yep, this part is sustainable because I say it is. Yeah. Well, no, you got to get out there and run for 250 miles and go, nope, that definitely, that one broke.
That one broke.
And honestly, I don't mind learning. I don't mind things like that. But at the end of the day, I don't want my biggest my biggest concern is making sure, these drivers signed up to race cars, but they didn't sign up to race cars blind.
Mm.
And I don't want, the pit crews. I don't want the drivers, well, this is all to be entertainment, but this is not to watch people get hurt. And I'm all about entertainment. That's what we're here to do. We're here to represent sponsors and entertain people. That is what we're here to do. But there is a limit, and we need to recognize that, and we need to learn from that. And as an industry, we just need to do a little better.
Yeah. Do a little better.
Do a little better. I dig it. 2022, they've announced the championship race at Phoenix again. Curious your thoughts on Phoenix, Brian.
I mean, I love Phoenix.
Yeah.
We've had some success there. Maybe not so much in the last couple of years, but no, Phoenix as a venue is just absolutely outstanding. Not only from the venue itself, which I mean, from the infield to the stands, I mean, that is one of the top-notch facilities that we go to. I've never sat in the stands, but I've been on the infield, and you can see so many great different viewpoints from the infield. Those stands, I can only imagine what you can see from those stands, especially where they move them to. You can see the dog leg, you can see down the back stretch, or you can see down the front stretch as well now. So as a fan, I think it's one of our better facilities. I think it puts on a great show. I mean, it's had its low points maybe in the last couple of years, and we're figuring that out as an aero package. But I think it's a great facility. I think it's a great facility to end and showcase the best team. It really stresses aerodynamics, horsepower, mechanical grip. So when you win that race, the best car, the best team won that race. So, and just the overall area, there's so much to do in that area. Phoenix is an amazing city. There's hiking. I mean, I can sit here and talk hours about hiking around Phoenix. But then you have the sports. We always go there. We'll watch hockey games, or you go there and there could be a football game or things like that. So there's so much to offer in Phoenix. It's a lot like Vegas. A lot of people, that is one of my favorite venues is Vegas, not only just because the track, but just what you can go to that race and do so much more as well. That could be a 3 or 4 day travel, or 4-day vacation for somebody, where they could do so much more than just go to the race. And I want NASCAR fans to go to the race because that's what they want to do, but they also should go out and enjoy maybe a casino or a hike or whatever else they want to enjoy. And Phoenix offers all that.
I would say that the two tracks you mentioned, Vegas and Phoenix, and me and Sherwin have been to both of those, and they're probably on our Mount Rushmore of stories that we've had at race weekends. At Vegas, it's Vegas, so anything goes. We roll. Sherwin was living away at the time. We probably talked about it on the podcast before, but we rolled up to Bellagio and sat down at their Keno parlor and just caught up. That was all we were doing, was just hanging out and having a good time. And I put like $20 into Keno so that we could get free drinks there. And I ended up winning like $65-$70 or something. So then we went to Jack in the Box, was it, Sherwin, out there?
Oh,
and ordered one of he ordered one of everything on the menu with the $70 that I had. So just throw it down. And I mean, this is all ancillary to the actual race that's going on. We watched the Xfinity race from the Bellagio again, and sat there and played 25-cent video poker with them, just feeding us beer after beer after beer. And I mean, we might have gone through $10 worth of quarters in 2.5 hours and had a blast. And then, fast forward a few years, went to Phoenix, what was it, 2-3 years ago? And
about that.
It was the year before the configuration change. And we were at this little seedy motel kind of thing, and met up with some other NASCAR fans. Went out to the pool. Nobody had nobody had swim trunks, so we just all went down to our boxers and jumping in the pool, in the hot tub, throwing chairs into the pool. Somebody completely randomly high-sided their car on a giant curb next to us, so we got a bunch of drunks out there to try to help him out. I mean, it was just insanity, just the stuff that just happens in life. And so the way that you that you just talk about those two tracks, and it's not just the tracks, like you said, it's what's going on around there. And of course, we had a more Vegas experience in Vegas, but we were in a micro local area of our little motel and whatnot, but had just a blast out there at Phoenix as well. And the Phoenix track, I was surprised. I always talk about how old school feel it has when you walk up and you see the bleachers and stuff, but a new school kind of like venue. And I don't know how to reconcile that in my head. It's not like going to Darlington with the concrete stands and stuff, but it's not like, going to, I don't know, a super new track or something, but it's that kind of feel of the old with the facilities of the new there.
It's definitely a unique track, not just with the field, but I mean, man, it's a unique layout. And like I said, it stresses the team so much from every aspect. So, I mean, Homestead's a great track that also magnifies every aspect of every team. And that's what you want, right? I mean, you want a track that makes sure when the driver wins that the team, it took every bit of that driver and every bit of that team to win this championship. And that's what Phoenix does. So it's a great place for the championship, and it's a great destination for a vacation as well, like we've said. And that's part of it. I mean, people just don't need to be going to the racetrack. They need to be sightseeing or enjoying the area as well. And Phoenix couldn't be a better place for what we're doing.
Yeah. Sherwin, now I'm reminiscing again. Approximately how many times did management come down and tell us at Phoenix at that motel that the pool closes at 10 p.m.?
Oh, it was enough that it was kind of like it was funny when he popped around the corner.
Yeah.
It was basically like I'm just doing this so I don't get fined.
Right. Just checking the box every round. Hey guys, pool closes at 10. It's like 12:30 in the morning at this point. Hey guys, pool closes at 10. Thanks.
Thanks.
No, the next one. They got another one coming around, right?
All good. Like, all right, cool. We're good. We got another 10 hours. Oh man. Let's talk about Indy 500 just for a moment. 46-year-old Helio Castroneves takes home the trophy. Brian, did you get a chance to see any of that while you were there in Charlotte?
Yeah, we definitely watched most of it. We ended up getting in the car and traveling over to Charlotte for the 600. But man, I get goosebumps thinking about this story. For many reasons. First of all, Michael Shank and what that guy's a racer. What he does in sports car racing, his attitude towards this sport. I know a lot of people have raced for him. That guy's just a straight racer. And for him to start this Indy team maybe a couple years ago, and then get the Acura deal in IMSA, the manufacturer Acura deal, and to get Elio to come in after being let go from Penske, and hearing that Penske didn't want him to run the 500, and then for those two stories to combine and then end up winning the Indy 500 is just an amazing story for so many ways. I'm so happy for not only that team but that driver, and God, I just what a storybook ending for both of them. Honestly, it's amazing. I love all of it.
Well, and there's also kind of a hidden piece of anecdotal awesomeness with that car, because that car that Shank bought was the slowest car on the grid last year. And they turned it into the Indy 500 winner.
That Shank team, that Meyer Shank team, they're a very underrated team in motorsports. Not only in sports car racing, but IndyCar racing. I love seeing Acura going full force in offering them a DPI deal. I really hope that they get the LMDH deal next year, and I really hope to see them for years to come in Indy. I think they would be a great presence in all of motorsports. So, but yeah, I didn't know about them buying that car and turning it around. That's again, it's a driver and a car apparently that's been dropped off and turned around and shoved in everybody's fucking faces. So I like it.
That's right. Yeah,
I
definitely.
say that. I love all of it because I think that's pretty funny that Elio kind of got kicked to the side and he came back and won. So
You love not just the comeback stories, but the kind of troll stories too. Like, look what I did, a-holes.
That's definitely a troll story. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So real quick on the playoffs, it's kind of Hamlin and Hendrick up there up top, but Harvick continues to be strong in points and maybe close to home here. Boy, it just feels inevitable that there's going to be a W, and that we talked about it when Chase got his win earlier, a few weeks ago, about how like wins will beget wins, if you will, and I'm curious, in the shop, if it feels like I don't know, a trudge or an inevitability, like we know what we're doing, and especially going into Sonoma right now where Harvick has had speed.
Well, it's whenever I hear this question, this is a very question, I say, well, we stomped ass for 4 straight years and we didn't win the championship. So maybe it's good to get your faults out of the way, learn a little bit more, and peak at the right time. So no, Harvick, as bad as this year has gone, Harvick's ran well. I mean, people want to think that we're throwing grenades in the shop, and you look at Harvick, and you take out the wins, he's maybe 9th in points. I don't know exactly where he's at, but he's had some really good runs, and he's been there. So Harvick, Rodney, and that 4 team, they're always going to be in it, and I feel very much you can compare them to LeBron James and say, until they're out, and I hope that's how the field thinks, because those guys could win at any moment, and when they do, it's going to be like a shark tasting blood, and they better watch out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sherwin.
Yeah, I was just going to say there are some teams that just kind of get in there and they get the win, and it really doesn't amount to much. With Kevin, it feels a lot like, he's got anywhere from 3rd to 8th every week, and like polishing off a win, like you said, that blood in the water, that okay, all right, we found enough that we can do the rest on the fly.
The other part of that is when Harvick has won, that we found that issue, so that's the warning, so well, whenever we find that issue, you better watch out, because Harvick can't let back. You don't have to worry about him knowing what to do when he figures it out. When we can hand him that little puzzle piece, it's going to be on. So they better be ready and hope we don't find that puzzle piece.
Right.
It's interesting. The namesake of the company has a little experience here. 2011 with Tony Stewart. It kind of exactly what you're talking about there with. Whether you call it sleeper or whatever you want to call it, but just lighting it up in the playoffs and championship. Finishing was it 1-2 with Carl Edwards then, or Carl Edwards ran?
No, it was 1-1 plus a bonus point.
Yeah. It was like a tie plus a bonus. Yeah, it was a tie, I think.
Yeah,
with the bonus point to lead the lap or most laps or whatever it was. So yeah. I mean, this, again, like the way we have done this championship format, nothing matters until we get to Daytona. And even then, nothing matters until we get to the end of round 1. So, there's no time for panic. There's just time for improvement. There's plenty of time for us to make our cars better. And, as long as we make the playoffs, there's any possibility, anything can happen. And again, that's the other reason, it's not like the old point system. I hate well, I won't say hate it. I miss the old point system where it's just all based on points. But right now, I'm telling you, I love it. I love this a lot because we can run the way we have, and we can win one race, and Harvick can go out there and beat him to death in the playoffs to win this championship. So, anything is possible still. So,
well, gentlemen,
absolutely,
let's do it. Let's gas it up. There we go. There it is. It's Sonoma. So, Brian, what are you looking forward to into Sonoma? Sounds like y'all got one car away, or one car in a backup. What's the next few days look like for you, and then what's the weekend look like?
So again, the cars are going to get their finishing touches tomorrow and be loaded up early, be headed out. Man, Sonoma, we haven't been there in what, 2 years now?
Yep.
We had last year off. So I love Sonoma. I always love going out there. I love the fans, the atmosphere. I love the wine, the food, all that. So, and at the end of the day, I love the racing. It's a short track road course. It's hard nosed. You can bump and bang. We saw this is where Tony Stewart got his last win, and it was a pretty rough win. He moved Hamlin out of the way. I mean, those cars were beat to death. So this is a fun racetrack to watch. It's very technical.
Yes.
It's very hard on equipment. It's very hard on mechanical grip. I mean, you have to, it's not so aerodynamic, but you have to take care of your brakes, take care of your car, make sure that it can actually last the race. You can't just beat your car to death and have a tire rub or any kind of mechanical issue. I mean, so I'm really excited. I'm excited to see, the last time we went there, they had the new format of the track. Part of me likes it. I like the extra turns. Part of me misses that turn where they jump and do all their circusry or circus.
Oh yeah, where they basically leave the track for like 50 feet.
So that's no longer there, but it's also harder on brakes. It added another passing zone. So I'm really excited for Sonoma. I look forward to Chase Briscoe has been so far a great road course racer, and actually Cole Custer as a rookie, or since he's been a rookie, he's run decent at the road courses. So I look forward to him, Briscoe, and Harvick really showcasing their stuff, and at the end of the day, Almirola, he's in a bad spot. He needs to have a good run. So I look for him to be super aggressive this week. Let's that'll be fun to watch, I'm sure.
Yeah, awesome. And with all these new road courses, we have to come up with different like styles for them or whatever, because it used to be that we'd say Watkins Glen is kind of call it super speedway of the road courses, and Sonoma is almost the like Martinsville or Bristol of road courses. So what does that make COTA? And then we have I'll call them stadium courses with Daytona and Roval. There's a lot more to chew on this year. So anyway, let's close it out with this. Let's do some picks for this race. And Brian, we'll start with you. Who you got for Sonoma?
Can I pick outside of us?
I'm not gonna.
I'm going to say Harvick. For us, I think Harvick's going to be our strong guy. He's won there. He's done really well. He has to do good. He's smelling that blood. But other than that, I think obviously, can you pick someone other than Chase Elliott or Martin Truex right now? The other two. I'm trying to think of a surprise here, but go ahead. Maybe I'll think of one. But Martin Truex, and I say the obvious Chase Elliott. I mean, it's hard to root against him right now on those road courses.
Awesome. Well, let's see. Last week, Sherwin, you picked Harvick. So there you go, Brian. We had homers last week for you. And I picked Hamlin, who finished 7th. Harvick finished 10th. So, Sherwin, you're up first this week. Who you got at Sonoma?
I'm
going to pick William Byron.
Ooh, good.
Mr. Simulator.
There you go. And the keeping the Hendrick train rolling for the big 270. So let's see. I promised it. I'll say it here. Chase Briscoe.
There we go.
Going with the home team here. You got to with the folks on the line. Rookie season for him.
So I'll give you some inside information here.
All right.
So it's been pretty tough getting cars ready this year. We actually had to go to our Coda backup to go bring the Sonoma just because we couldn't get the actual Sonoma car ready in time. So if anybody's wondering how, tight the timetables are right now on all these teams, and that Coda backup, I love that Coda backup. The body came out great. The guys put it together. It's a fantastic car. I love that car. I actually liked it better than the Coda primary. So that is going to be Chase Briscoe's car this weekend. I'm really excited to see it. I'm really excited to see him perform. And I actually, I was a big proponent on getting that car to actually race at Sonoma. So I hope it runs well. I hope he runs well because I was pretty, I'm excited about this car that we're bringing to Sonoma.
I love it.
Right.
The insider info. You heard it here on PTM Podcast. Brian?
I will say, I thought of one big sneaker pick. I'm gonna say McDowell. I'm gonna say he's gonna. I'm pretty excited to see how he does with that front row car. He's a great road course racer. He's a Ford team. I think McDowell's gonna be one to mess with this weekend.
There we go.
Sure.
We'll watch out for that, Brian. It has been a blast. I can't believe it's already been an hour, and I lament that I'm probably going to go back and do some work. But and Sherwin's probably going to go pass out somewhere.
Ooh, I almost did about 5 times already.
So with that, why don't you go ahead, Brian, and close us out? Where can the folks find you, and where are you going to be next?
I'm at Brian Murphy _ or at Brian _ Murphy _ on Twitter. I'll I'm on there. I'm not traveling much anymore, so you're more than welcome to contact me on social media or contact you guys and get in contact with me, or whenever you guys can have me back on. I would love to be on. So
well, we have absolutely had a blast. Like I said, it was Brian Murphy's coming on. Absolutely, I'm in. Sherwin, I'll spare you having to talk too much here. You know where you can find him, Pregame Engineer, on Twitter, on Instagram, PTM Podcast, and PTM Podcast on the Twitter handle. As always, I'm Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor. Can't wait to talk to y'all next week. We'll break down Sonoma. It's going to be a blast. Y'all have fun. We'll see ya. There we go. That's a wrap on the recording. I won't belabor the point with us for too long. I know multiple folks got to move along. So, Brian, it's been awesome. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, thanks again. It's always a pleasure to be on. Another great episode. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. You were extremely responsive, so that's cool.
Yeah. Well, man, we'll let you roll. I'll get this thing put up. We'll be on iTunes and everywhere else here in about, 20 minutes or so.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Take care, Brian.
Peace.
All right. Thank you, guys.
See ya. And YouTubers, thanks for hanging out. We're going to kill it now and get us some rest. So y'all be good.